Hey viewers and viewresses, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to Sir You're Being Hunted, episode 643 now. This is actually a different island, but it's the same map that I was on with Connor and Phil in the last episode, recording just by myself at the moment. Basically, just another podcast style episode and all that, because I kind of need some filler content just to go on the channel in the meantime, because looking at the schedule, this video is actually going to be going out sometime in early April. It is sort of late March as of when I record, and I say that because, the Easter holidays are coming up, and I do have plans to just go and visit friends and family at some point. So probably I want to get block recording a bit of stuff that can just go on the channel in the meantime, just to keep things tidying over and all that. So I thought, I'd do a bit of Sir, maybe also a bit more Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Maybe make a start on some other stuff as well. Things like that, just keep things moving. As you do, and all that. Ooh, an axe. Haven't had a weapon just yet, now have we? But in the meantime, another podcast style episode and all that is always a good thing to do. Especially since I do have a sort of topic on the mind at the moment, which I kind of want to talk about. You see, by the time this video goes out, again, this probably will be sort of slightly out of date news and all, but essentially, a rifle. Thank you. I'll take that as well. Cheers. Now, what I was going to say was, of course, whenever I share videos on my channel, whenever I upload something, whenever I publish something, blah blah blah, the thing that, of course, I always tend to do is to just, basically just to share it to my social media feed. Sorry, you can tell I'm sort of concentrating a bit on what I'm doing as well in game because I'm sort of pausing every so often when I speak. But so I share the videos, of course, on my social media feed, so Twitter and Facebook. And of course, one of the things that I always sort of get tempted to do when I'm on Twitter is see what sort of things are trending, what kind of hashtags and all that. I go and have a look at them. But of course I always end up regretting it because often what you see trending on Twitter usually is a load of absolute nonsense. Or it's a bunch of people moaning about something, things like that. And most recently, for anyone who's outside the UK and doesn't really sort of have too much idea of what's been going on, basically on Twitter at the moment there's been a bit of a shitstorm about some colours used when depicting the English flag on the England football team kit, because I think it's Nike basically did a design for the football shirts, and basically what they did was they put the English flag on it, but they decided to take a bit of artistic liberty, and what they did was in essence what they did was they basically adopted some different colours. They gave it sort of like a more purple colour scheme rather than red and white. And apparently, according to Nike's own explanation, this was in reference to a sort of combination of the red and the blue that was used by the England team in 1966 World Cup and all that. But as you probably can imagine, that caused an absolute shitstorm on social media. And of course, it being the colour purple, I'm sure you can imagine that on Twitter there were lots of keyboard warriors who immediately jumped on the whole woke explanation, were like, oh god, this is just the latest example of wokery gone mad and all that. And it was ridiculous because when Nike posted their explanation, it basically had absolutely nothing to do with wokeness and all that. It's basically saying, well no, it was just an artistic decision to try and make a reference to 1966 and all that. But of course, I'm sure you can imagine if you're, if it's someone of that kind of, let's say, persuasion who sees woke things in pretty much everything, as I'm sure you can imagine, they were not exactly convinced by that explanation, even though there's literally no reason to believe that, quote unquote, wokeness had anything to do with it. But it just sort of is a bit of a reminder of how silly some of the things that people get angry about on Twitter actually are, because it's the most inconsequential thing ever. And it's like people trying to sort of explain in the comments like, oh, purple is a typical LGBT colour, things like this. And it's like, well, but other people can use the colour purple, you know. The LGBT community doesn't have a monopoly on that colour. And besides, you know, I always thought the kind of representation, colour-wise, of the LGBT community was a whole rainbow of colours, not just one or two particular colours. But it's ridiculous. It's just like, do you see, like, pictures, for example, artistic interpretations of, say, like, the Romans, when they would have worn purple? Because, you know, purple dye was expensive, apparently, in the Roman era, so to be able to afford clothes that were purple in colour was a sign of your wealth. Do you just see depictions of Romans in purple, for example, and immediately assume that there's some kind of woke agenda going on? Are you that sort of person? The point being, arguments on Twitter can be fucking stupid. They really can. They can be ridiculous. Utter nonsense at times. But, you know, the more sort of general lesson actually coming out of that is always, I should try and avoid doom scrolling on Twitter, because if it's not stupid arguments about stupid things, it's usually people just moaning about the state of politics, the state of the world today. And, you know, I'm not denying that the world has problems, but sometimes you got to go, you know, you got to get away from that doom scrolling at times, because it's not good for your mental health and all that. That's why sometimes I purposefully seek out good news on Google, things like that. I usually go to, for example, to like BBC News science pages, because although, you know, there are negative stories on there, there are also usually positive ones. You know, positive stories about scientists, for example, who are making major breakthroughs. Or just, you know, people doing good stuff. And it reminds you that you still have reason to have faith in humanity, even when people are doing dumb stuff. Are you a bit stuck over there, buddy? I think he's a bit stuck on that rock. Oh, his buddy's there. It's the trolls who live under the bridge, ladies and gentlemen. Look at them. And a pair of freaks. Alright, let's get out of here. I want to get to that village and get food. But no, as I'm saying, like, yeah, avoid doom scrolling, ladies and gentlemen. It's not good for your mental health and all that. I think there's too many sort of people these days who spend their kind of lives on Twitter, social media, and it's not good for them, in all honesty. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people who sits there and goes, oh, the internet's all bad. Oh, social media, nothing good ever come of it. Because, well, no, there is good stuff that's come out of social media and all that. Social media, for example, can be a great platform for marshalling, for example, people to do good things. Or for connecting people, you know, getting people bonding over mutual interests, things like that. But yes, you know, it does have its downsides as well, which have to be taken into account. That's absolutely fine, you know. We all know that. No, the other thing actually that I thought was quite interesting about the whole England flag depiction ridiculousness was just a video I once saw on YouTube. It might have been a TED Talk or something, but it was from a dude who was sort of talking about flags and the power of them. It sort of reminded me a bit of that, because that technically was sort of talking about a bit of a different topic. That was more about, you know, good flag designs versus bad flag designs, things like that. But I suppose kind of the deeper issue is it really sort of illustrates how people will get very invested in something that essentially amounts to just a bit of fabric with some colour on it that has this kind of symbolic power, that it represents a certain nation or a certain people or whatever. It's always kind of interesting, that sort of thing. The power of symbols, I guess, is what I'm getting at there. Right, I managed to get a load of vitals here, which is good. Don't really need more, do I? I've got pie, I've got my tea, tilts pickled eggs. I'll take some pickled onions as well. This is a very curious meal that my character's going to be having. Is there a robot stuck around here?
You should talk to my broker.
His sort of bleeping kind of cuts out every so often, as though he's not moving around that much. Makes me think he's stuck. As he's about to come round, is he? Nope, they've lost me. That's fine. That's good. That's good by me, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I think that it's funny. It's funny sometimes with the industrial biome in Sir how certain terrain generations, the robots sometimes get stuck on them. I think it's like things, for example, in well, kind of behind some of these houses. I think some of these house models have sort of random items that spawn behind them. Sometimes when robots spawn behind the houses, they sort of get stuck on those, which is always interesting. And clearly, obviously, the canal bridges as well can be another thing that robots get stuck on. How peculiar. Right, I have a torch as well, I've got to remember that. But in the meantime, other news, things going on the channel at the moment. Of course, it being sort of early April as of when this video goes out. I'm really trying to sort of blitz through and do more indie horror at the moment, which is good, because I've got so many of these little games in my friggin' directory here on my computer that I need to play, as well as just ones in my Steam library. Some short, some long. So I really need to play more of them, get more of them done. Because my indie horror playlist, actually, as of when I record this video, is actually not far off 200 videos. Go to you. Hide. Wait for that guy to come over here, so I can shoot him. Got him. He dead. Right, enables me to look at this building over here. Don't want your shotgun. Let's go and look at the other body. He got a shotgun for me, thank you. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. Didn't have anything else. No, he didn't. Right, get that. There we are. Perfect. Ooh, I'll take a stick of dynamite as well. I'm going to chunk up my inventory here if I'm not careful. Right, was there a door around here? There was. Oh my god, so much fucking dynamite. This is perfect. Great. Lovely. No, as I say, indie horror, I've been really trying to push ahead with that lately at the moment. And the thing is, I need to do more in just indie horror games and just horror games in general on the channel. Because I do love a good horror game and all that, you know me. Got so many of them. But no, it feels like though I'm not really making much of a dent though in the sheer number of indie horror games I've downloaded from Steam and itch.io at various points. Because the problem is, for every one I play, I feel like there's about 10 more that I discover which I think, oh, that looks interesting. I'll play that one as well. But I'll just keep plugging away at it, I guess. That's the problem. What I should probably do actually is avoid downloading any more for the moment and instead just focus on the ones that I've actually got. Probably be so much better. Because the thing is, I've had some really sort of good indie horror games that I've played recently. Ones that have interesting concepts to them. And ones that I know for a fact have interesting concepts among those that I downloaded freaking months ago but never got around to playing. So, I should take a look at them, ladies and gentlemen. I should do that. Yes. But that's kind of what I'm planning actually to do a bit of this afternoon, after I've recorded some more indie horror, because I've got some interesting ideas. I mean, by the time this video goes out, I may have already actually started uploading some of them on the channel and all that. I see that's generated on a slope. It's caused it to generate at a weird angle. Not quite meeting the ground, it's kind of buried away. Very curious. Interesting. There's always something weird with the terrain generation in this game, if you really play around with the biomes and all that. I suppose that's what makes it kind of fun though, isn't it, eh? Right, I'm gonna sort of beeline back towards the jetty at this point, because I've not really got much else to talk about. Like I say, I think I'll probably do for a little filler podcast episode. I really want to get to the indie horror, people. That's what I really want to do. I'll tell you what I really, really want to do. I'm about to start singing that in the style of the Spice Girls, but then again, I don't really remember the tune to that song. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. There is a topic, actually, of conversation. What happened to all, like, the silly sort of, like, bands here in the UK during the 1990s, very early 2000s? All the sort of, kind of dance pop bands that probably, had their heyday for a couple of years and then were completely forgotten about. Well, not the Spice Girls. The Spice Girls, I think, are fairly well remembered, but I'm thinking of other bands like S Club 7 and Bewitched and things like that. Do you remember those sorts of bands? I'm sure people probably do. There's probably whole fan clubs for them. They just felt like that sort of, era of kind of dance music in the UK that's very sort of like dime a dozen, to put it that way. Sorry, I'm probably insulting them a bit by saying that, but yeah. Alright, time to wrap up here before I start getting myself in hot water. Facebook links are down below, along with a link to my propagandist channel for anyone interested, and if you enjoyed, a like is of course always appreciated and all that jazz. But other than that, key lesson of this video, ladies and gentlemen, don't doom scroll on Twitter and all that. Goodbye, everybody! There we go, that's more like like it. Right, do we go on the offensive? Over here, maybe? These fucking enemies are coming from. So go over here. Actually, get this fucking transport as well. Get rid of that thing, if you can. Got the fucking thing down. Let's get his fucking shipyard. Like that. Do some damage. Gunboats. Fucking all gunboats, please. Just keep producing gunboats. We're gonna have this fucking under control, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, where are you going? Bitch. And this guy over here, take him out. Get that fucking shipyard. That's one down. Yeah, thank God.